What is up, everybody? Solomon here. Super excited to be down here at Consensus with Genfinity. Equally excited to say that we have somewhat of a legend, prior developer advocate, one of the leading developer advocates within the Ripple ecosystem, and now working with Filecoin, Matt Hamilton. Matt, would love to hear about your experience while working with Ripple, still supporting the XRPL, obviously, and then moving into Filecoin and what that's looked like for you over the past year or so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm now working, as you say, I'm now working with Protocol Labs and Filecoin, and that's great. But still support the XRP Ledger. I've been involved in the XRP Ledger for about 7 years now, so it is kind of like the blockchain that's closest to my heart. Filecoin is brilliant in terms of it's a storage network. It focuses on a very different area to the XRP Ledger, and that's why I feel it's okay to be involved so much in both of them, because they both have very different focuses, right?
Sure.
The XRP Ledger is great for payments, great for tokenizing assets, great for NFTs, that kind of thing, whereas Filecoin is about storage. So the Filecoin network is about 13 exabytes of data. It's about 1% of the total data center storage capacity worldwide. And
wow.
So it's a big network. And about a month ago, we launched the Filecoin Virtual Machine.
Okay.
And that's an Ethereum-compatible virtual machine that allows you to add programmability on top of the Filecoin storage system. So you can have things like auto-renewing storage deals. You can create things like data DAOs, in which you might have people contributing funds towards long-term storage or endowment, towards storage of data.
Yeah, and I mean, prior to Filecoin as well, there was a brief kind of point that you went to BitTensor and Tau. So what was that experience like with the AI aspects? That was
pretty cool. And I used to work at IBM, and I did developer advocacy at IBM around AI. And so, Tau was that was a really interesting. BitTensor was a really interesting project to work on. The issue at the time was they were very, very early on in what they were doing. Right, and so it just wasn't quite a fit in the end for me working for them. But it's really interesting what they're doing, because we've seen the massive rise of the use of AI systems.
Sure.
ChatGPT is just exploded, right? And I mean, when I was at BitTensor, they were doing text-to-text translation, so things like what ChatGPT does. But everybody was looking at images at the time, and then ChatGPT came out, and everybody's going back to text, right? So it's this interesting kind of sort of progression. But the big thing with BitTensor is the idea is to look at making that AI, that training, decentralized.
Okay.
People have looked at ChatGPT and said, well, what are the biases within ChatGPT? What has it been trained on? What does it know? What does it not know? What are the internal biases that it has regarding its knowledge? So, BitTensor, the point of doing it in a decentralized manner is you get training data from a much broader environment. So hopefully it avoids things like biases like that.
Yeah, and I've actually talked to a couple of people about the AI aspects, and it really, that question is what is foundationally there to trigger responses from the AI, at its basis, and you talk about decentralization of AI. It's a similar kind of mechanism to Bitcoin and consensus with Bitcoin. At least that's what you're led to believe with the tokenomics. But how does Tau and BitTensor, how are they kind of aiming to decentralize out?
It's a good question. I mean, I've not been as involved with them for a while, so I don't know what their current sort of roadmap is. But the idea being is that the network incentivizes individuals to run miners, and the miners on the network are providing intelligence, machine learning intelligence to the network as a whole.
Yeah.
So the better responses that your node can come back with, then the more you are rewarded. So the idea being is that at the moment, all of this research into AI is happening in a few small select companies, right? So you've got things like OpenAI, which is heavily funded by Microsoft. You've got people like Uber, you've got people like Google, whatever.
Yeah.
And the idea behind this is to allow smaller entrants into the market to be rewarded for research that they're doing. They don't have to be part of a big established lab.
And I think with Filecoin and the file storage aspects, I mean, I would really love to pick your brain or get an answer from you around, there's so many different segments of tech in Web3, and it's kind of really injecting out pretty much everywhere. you mentioned, Ripple and the XRPL, really great for payments, settlements. Filecoin, really great for file storage, and Filecoin Virtual Machine just launching. How do you envision over time, I guess how early, I guess is the question I'm trying to ask, how early do you think that we are in the convergence of different use cases in Web3, whether it be file storage, or payments, and settlements, and what do you think that looks like kind of over time?
Well, yes, we're early, but yes, these things are already being built. So within Protocol Labs, there's a project called Bacalhau, and Bacalhau is a decentralized compute platform, and it's used for like off-chain computation, like machine learning models, right? Like training and running inference on machine learning models. And Bacalhau have a project called Lilypad that is a connection between FVM, the Filecoin Virtual Machine, and Bacalhau. So you can have a smart contract on Filecoin initiate a machine learning like inference on an off-chain model. So you can pass it, say, hey, I want a pink unicorn riding a bicycle, and that can then go off to a stable diffusion model running off-chain to generate that image. It's then stored in IPFS, it's then migrated into Filecoin. The IPFS CID is returned back to FVM. That then mints an NFT pointing to that image, right? So we're already seeing this full circle between things like storage and AI happening, already. And one of the things that they're using FVM for is the payment side. So they're using FVM to actually, do payments to content creators that are providing, the models and the compute power to deal with this. So, I think these things are already coming. So I don't think we're early, but it's not that far away.
And last but not least, Matt, I guess I would ask, because you mentioned Filecoin Virtual Machine. What are you most excited about for Filecoin and the ecosystem moving forward into 2023?
So the Filecoin Virtual Machine allows, it's an Ethereum compatible virtual machine, so you can use all the same tools used with Ethereum. You can use, Remix, you can write your contracts in Solidity, you can use MetaMask, you can use Hardhat. All these tools used in the Ethereum world, you can now use on Filecoin with regards to the storage deals, right? But what's interesting is that Filecoin ultimately at the base of the network has massive amounts of like real world assets there. It's storage providers, right? Like I said, the total storage capacity is about 1% of the total data center.
That's a
storage
crazy
capacity.
statistic.
It's insane. And so you've got real world, assets running by these storage providers and these miners. So you can now build things like DeFi, but collateralized using the storage capacity as collateral, right? And storage providers get paid to store data, and the blockchain has the proof of this payment over time, so they can effectively borrow against this future revenue. So what's interesting is you get this whole kind of like DeFi element and financial element coming about based upon using like storage as the underlying primitive, and that I think is pretty amazing.
Well, we certainly appreciate your time today, Matt. I know you're a busy individual. It's always a pleasure. I see you kind of back and forth on Twitter sometimes, and I always do love the content that you put out on Twitter as well. Thank you so much for your time again. Matt Hamilton, developer advocate with Filecoin, obviously previously with Ripple as well, previously with BitTensor. Such a pleasure, and have a great rest of Consensus.
Thanks a lot. Great to chat to you.